Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today, I found out that 4 things are certain in life: death, taxes, RKOs, and Arsenal are gonna win the Premier League. Without further ado, let's get into the show, and let me firstly introduce the co-host of it, Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you today, and how awesome was that Arsenal win earlier?
It was outstanding. I rolled out of bed at 7 a.m. for the game, logged in at 7:10. The game finished 2-1, and both of the goals by Arsenal happened before I unfortunately got on the stream to watch with Ben. So I'm not that confident that there's very much scoring over there in the Premier League, but I did enjoy the experience and enjoyed watching it. The fan chants are a blast. The whole thing was fun. More importantly, we had SmackDown last night, which was also a blast. We got a lot of pro wrestling to break down here, and I'm excited to be here. How in the world is it already December? Happy holidays, everyone. What is going on, though, with the time? You can't stop
It's
it.
crazy. It's flying by. We've almost got to, doing this show for a year now. December 24th will be a year. It is absolutely crazy. But also joining us, we have the head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. Anthony, how are you today?
Doing all right. We're going to be talking about SmackDown, which was not exactly the highest of highlights, but it had its moment, especially at the end, and we'll get to it.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, on the Wrestling Republic system, Matt Coxon rated 2.75 out of 5 stars, and we've all but received death threats for it. I mean, people really, really did not like our rating this week, and I've tried to explain to people that 2.75 is only slightly below average for a weekly show, but doesn't seem like anybody was listening in those comment sections. We were being murdered. But also joining us today, we have the AEW reviewer, the man who reviewed Rampage last night, David Sheldon. David, how are you?
Oh, sorry. So I've just woken up after Rampage. Oh, sorry. Sorry, it's been a long day. No, yeah, Rampage was a boring show. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited. Really excited to be here to talk about Friday Night SmackDown, which was slightly less boring. Not by much. No, it was an all right show. Some good stuff to talk about, some interesting stuff to talk about, some stuff that I did like, some stuff that I didn't. But I hope everybody is having a good Saturday. And yeah, let's get on with it.
Absolutely. And also joining us in the comment section today is Bobby Petito. Shout out to you, Bobby. I hope that you are having a great Saturday. And let's kick things off by talking about damage control. And I mean, listen, every week on SmackDown, it appears that there's just more cracks in this faction, specifically between Bayley and the faction. They came out to confront Bianca Belair to kick off the show last night on SmackDown, and Bayley was absent. She later went up to them and said, "Hey, why didn't you tell me, guys, that you guys were going out?" And they were all saying, "Well, I thought you were telling her, or I thought you were telling her." I don't think any of them had any intention to tell her. Later on, when Kairi Sane faced Bianca Belair, Bayley was told to stay backstage, to not go out. And Bayley, well, she didn't follow that order, and she tried to help Kairi get the win. And I'm going to be honest here, I think Bayley did all she could. She didn't cost Kairi. Kairi cost Kairi by taking too long to hit that elbow. And in the end, Bianca Belair did get the victory. But hey, Clark, you've said it for months. You have not been a fan of this version of Bayley and her, putting over. Well, not her putting over, but, her kind of being in the background compared to a lot of these stars in damage control. I mean, how are you feeling right now about this story? Do you think we are getting near to, Bayley being kicked out?
I love every member of this faction. I think Damage Control might be the worst named faction in the history of professional wrestling. They can't even control the damage inside of their own group. What damage have they ever controlled? I've said it 1,000 times. There's no damage that's ever been controlled. All they've done is cause damage, whether it be their own relationships with each other, cause damage to the women's title picture. All kinds of damage has been caused, and none of it has been controlled. And I just don't get it anymore. Bayley, if I'm Bayley, I would be tired of this. This is a multi-world champion. This is Bayley Doe straps we're talking about here. Let's step to these kids and start actually controlling some damage and let Bayley do what, she was born to do, which is be one of the top women's wrestlers in the entire game. Bianca Belair getting the win makes the most sense to me. I'm a huge Bianca fan. I don't know how we fully push her back to the level that she felt like she was on about 12 to 18 months ago, but I don't think that there's any doubt eventually she'll work her way back to that spot. And getting the win was fine. Bayley's involvement was fine. I'm just ready for somebody to actually control some damage, or we can stop making the joke. Either or, I'm cool with.
I mean, in your words, what are we doing here?
What are
Because
we doing
it
here?
is just one where this story just feels a little stagnant with, Bianca Belair damage control, Charlotte Flair damage control. It's everybody in damage
Think about the
control.
group
It feels like the same thing.
debuted at SummerSlam the same night. We had Brock with a bulldozer against Roman Reigns. That's how long ago this was. Brock was feuding with Roman Reigns. That's how long ago this storyline started.
That's crazy.
And we have never seen, it's been in neutral the entire way. Like, let's shift gears. I guess we've tried by adding to the group, but if anything, Bayley deserves some flowers and very soon, because she's just too talented to be put in these spots over and over and over again. It's not right.
It's true. It's undoubtedly true, Clark. I couldn't agree, more with you on that one. I mean, Anthony, do you agree? Where do you see this one going in, the imminent future?
I think I agree with Clark. The damage control group as itself really has never really lived up to whatever they were trying to do with it. I think they're going to have a hard time, as we mentioned yesterday. There is no December pay-per-view. Are you dragging us out to the Rumble? Is that when you're going to do the Turn on Bayley? Or maybe, just maybe, if WWE is bringing in Mercedes, Sasha Banks, if they're bringing her back to do the 4 Horsewomen for Mania, maybe Bayley turns on them before they get to turn on her. And that's how they introduce, Sasha back in the mix. I don't know how you drag this out to potentially the Rumble or whatever point that they're going to break this group up. To me, I would probably have the group turn on her. I presumably probably at the Rumble, keep Bayley off TV for a little bit, and when she comes back, that's when she makes the challenge for Mania, and that's when they bring Sasha in as the 4th one. And I think that would be the smart play. Big money wise, I think that's the smart play for Mania. I know as much as Bayley and Io, but realistically, marquee wise, I think the 4 Horsewomen teaming for the first time, all 4 of them at a Mania against Damage Control, would be the smart play to me. I think that's the smarter move than Io and Bayley for the women's title.
Yeah, no, undoubtedly, Anthony. I agree with you on that one. I mean, maybe you even have, Bayley cost Io the title or something like that, the Rumble, or even at Elimination Chamber.
I wouldn't mind having Bayley cost Bianca, cost to give Bianca the women's title or something, and then it's by accident, it's not intentional, but the group turns on her, which would explain why Bianca is not a part of this 4-women WrestleMania match, because she's off. Defending the title against somebody else, whoever, whether it's Jade or whoever they decide to bring into that, which that would be an amazing Mania match too. Jade and Bianca for the women's title on the SmackDown brand would be a smart move.
That would be amazing. I take my money, to do that one. I mean, it is. I mean, when Shad first brought up the 4 Horsewomen a couple of weeks ago now, before Survivor Series, I mean, my brain just exploded. I was like, I hadn't even thought about that. But now you said it, I mean, that's the move. The move is the 4 Horsewomen versus Damage Control, this new Damage Control. That is the money match. But is that a money match, David, which you personally would like to see? Or do you reckon we should just keep it a bit more simple than that?
I want to see Bailey and Io. Because I think that's where we've been building for so long. First thing I want to say is Bianca versus Jade. Do you remember Jade in the ring? It'd be a great build and a disappointing match, and I guarantee you that now.
She wasn't that bad.
She wasn't that bad, but not for a take my money. This will be an epic WrestleMania match. It will be on the lower side of good. It'd be fine. It'd be it'd be the opposite of a lot of things, which would be probably a really good build to a slightly underwhelming match against other women's stories in the last few years that have been quite a bad build into a very good match. I
think it could get 4. I think 4 stars on the system it could get.
Well, it's hard because the thing with this, until you see a match, it's hard to say. But I think I come out underwhelmed, but I all for good things. I liked the Bailey involvement on this show. I like the Bailey story. I think it's Sammy in the bloodline again. That's kind of where we're at. It's not as good as that, but that's where I think we are. What I think was disappointing in this was poor Kairi. Kairi's done such great work in Japan. She's built herself up to one of the biggest stars in Japanese wrestling, and she's come back. And the first match she's back in, she's made to look like an absolute plonker against Bianca. The match, for a match that I've built up so long, Bianca and Kairi, I've wanted to see it. As soon as Kairi came in, this was the match that it was a really clunky match. Stuff didn't go well. Spots weren't landing. And it was a real shame because I was so excited for it on this show. And I do think that there's a brilliant match between the two of them in there on a pay-per-view down the line. It's just, I don't think this was it. Like I said, I liked the Bailey stuff. I liked the furthering of that story through the show. The opening promo was a bit generic Bianca promo, but which we've seen 100 times, but that's fine. It's just, to me, it was just like, man, I was hyping it up so much in my head, Bianca and Kairi. And what it ultimately ended up being was quite an odd, mess of a match that didn't work. And that's a shame, because I think that I disagree with the fact that, that this faction hasn't worked. And I am invested in these people. And I am invested in the Io and Bianca. I don't think it's as good as it could have been, certainly. But I am invested. It's just... it was just a bit of an underwhelming match in its own kind of bubble. But I do think that they're going to turn on in a few weeks on SmackDown, and I think you're going to build Bailey for the Rumble. And whether she wins the Rumble or not is a different question. But I think that'll be a story going into the Rumble. Is Bailey? That's how Bailey wants to. Whether she succeeds or not, different question. But I think that's what will be a hook of the Rumble, because I think they're really going to build the Rumbles this year with a lot of different people can win them.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Rumbles issue really seem open, right? At the minute, it's very, very difficult to predict them. Bobby agrees with you, though, saying that Bailey should be the one to win the Royal Rumble.
I'd love to see Bailey win the Rumble.
I mean, that would be interesting. Maybe she wins the Royal Rumble, she doesn't even challenge Io, and they already take her out. Damage Control take her out, presuming she'd pick Io. And then Bailey goes afterwards, hang on, I wasn't even going to pick you. But now, well, you bet now I am. That could be, that could be something interesting for absolute certainty. But now, let's move on. And actually, before we move on, we do have a comment from Kobe Galanzowski saying, that's definitely the move. You've got to have, many stories of people going into the Rumble with a reason to win it. And yeah, I mean, at that point, then it becomes hard to predict. Hopefully, the winners don't get leaked this year. Of course, here at Wrestling Republic, we will not be reporting on that or even touching on that if that it does happen, because sure, we are spoiler free, we are dirt sheet free, we are the clean sheet, if you want to call us that. But now let's move on, and let's move on to talk about a man who I like to call Pete Dunne. WWE like to call him Butch nowadays, but he faced Bobby Lashley, and this match was actually quite fun, right? It was quite a random match, I thought, but it was quite a fun one. Bobby Lashley, of course, getting the win, rightfully so, but I think the fact that they're giving Butch more singles time, more time in the ring in singles action on the TV product, I think that is a good sign for things to come for Butch in the upcoming future, and hopefully a return to the Pete Dunne name. I've been saying it over and over and over again for months now, so I'm not going to go right into that. But anyway, good match, right winner in the end, but hopefully Butch turns on Sheamus really, really soon. I mean, Clark, what were your thoughts on it?
It does seem like the relationship between Butch, Pete Dunne / Pete Dunne, and Ridge Holland has broken down in a sense, not necessarily directly with Sheamus, but at least him and Ridge and his relationship with the Brawling Brutes, which I do hope leads to the return of the actual Pete Dunne. Not that Butch isn't just Pete Dunne, but named Butch, but still, I would prefer let him be Pete Dunne and let him be the Bruiserweight or the Bruiserweight. As far as Lashley's concerned, I was actually fascinated. You've got the Street Profits turning and getting rid of the fun stuff that was over. The Brooklyn crowd was chanting for Lashley throughout the match.
Yeah.
Throughout
Heavily.
the match. And I haven't seen that in a while. And I actually believe, though, as much as Lashley is a logical heel, say what you will about December to Dismember, his babyface run back in the day in 06 is the best work of his career. When he was working from underneath, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of funny criticism to be made about the Battle of the Billionaires hair versus hair Umaga match. But he was in that spot for a reason. I don't think it necessarily benefited Lashley, but the rise to get there was unique in a way where Lashley was truly a monster babyface in a way we haven't seen in a long time. And a lot of people want to root for Bobby Lashley, ex-military, his background, his story. I don't mind Lashley and the Profits maybe be turned face.
Oh.
At some point back, if we're going to listen to the crowds, and it continues to happen, because I know crowds still want to chant for the Street Profits. I know crowds still want to see the cups fall from the sky. A fun Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits is not the worst idea ever. Because I want to root for Bobby Lashley personally at times, because I know his story and I know how talented he is and how good he is. There's not a ton to dislike about Bobby. He's not naturally one of those guys that gets under your skin by the way that he talks. He's a humble dude, hardworking. Yes, he's in great shape. The only thing to dislike about Bobby Lashley in my eyes come from jealousy. That'd be jealousy of how good a shape he's in, right? The look, all of that. But he's soft-spoken. He's as humble and nice as could be. I don't mind and I don't think it was the plan all along either. That's not what I'm saying, right? I think the plan was to go Wall Street Profits, basically, whatever, as we've been jokingly calling them. But Bobby and the Profits as heels. Yeah. I think if there's a way to flip it the other way, might be what's best for all three, because I actually think Bobby's wheelhouse is more on the babyface side than anybody else with a similar build or moveset, and by kind of a lot. If you think about anybody else in that category,
those cups though, do you need to bring back the cups and stuff? Or
I don't know necessarily that the cups specifically need to be brought back. I think people loved the cups. The cups were fun, and always doing the right, everyone doing the cheers, the fans, like that stuff is fun. I don't know that you necessarily have to bring it back. That's not so much what I'm saying, but in the way that when Batista turned on Evolution, he was kind of the monster big man babyface at the same time as, Lashley was a little after that. I don't think he needs to turn on the Profits at all, but maybe somehow we insert MVP back into the fold. Maybe somehow we insert somebody to feud with, to give a reason for Lashley to make that turn. Omos, right? To make that turn. But based on the crowd reactions alone, I think it's the move, which I would not have said a few weeks ago. But watching last night, I thought, we have three baby faces around the ring, and it wasn't that in any way Butch was being rooted against. That was so interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't on him.
It had nothing to do with Butch because he wasn't being cheered or jeered against, right? It was about the crowd loving Lashley. And I think that was true. That was really interesting to me. And I think it's something that, to at least be looked at in the short term here.
I undoubtedly agree with you, Clark, but something else I want to very quickly bring up that I found quite interesting. You know me, I'm a big fan of Pretty Deadly. Yes, boys! But last night, obviously, after this match, they came up to Butch and then they brawled with Butch again. I mean, how long is this feud going to be going on for now? Because, I mean, it started like before they got injured. And ever since they've returned, it's continuing. It's like every week we're seeing Pretty Deadly in the Brawling Brutes. And it's kind of like, why?
It is interesting. It's like, wait a minute, can they not wrestle somebody else?
Yeah. Do you
That
have to
one
put the
doesn't make
Brits
sense
against
to
the
me.
Brits?
Yeah, I don't really understand that one at all myself. I think definitely the Brutes are on their way out as a team, as far as it's kind of time to split them up. Not that it's gone stale, but like there's no, in my eyes at least, there's not really a room for advancement as a trio, but there is as either singles competitors or a split off tag team and one being a singles. I wouldn't mind Ridge and Sheamus continuing to stay together and then Butch splitting off in some way. That wouldn't bother me so much, but I do feel like that matchup is a little unfair to both sides because it's kind of just stalled things in general.
No, it absolutely has. I mean, hopefully they've got a direction for it, but I right now cannot see that direction. I just feel like they're kind of holding Pretty Deadly's amazing momentum and just stopping them. I think there's an agenda stopping them from becoming the WWE Tag Team Champions like they rightfully should be. But we have a couple of comments here. Firstly, we've got Kobe saying that Hurt Business Bobby Lashley is probably the best Lashley. I mean that's up there for sure. That's up there.
Sounds like a 19-year-old. My bad.
He's not 19. He's 21.
As someone
who's
like
like
gone
four
back,
when Lashley was at his peak.
As someone who's gone back and watched old Lashley, yeah, Hurt Business Lashley any day of the week.
Oh, not the old SmackDown Lashley. No. Not when he was using the Dominator. Absolutely not.
There's a bit of a disagreement there. We might need to ask Chaos to get the tables. But we have a lovely comment right now from Bobby Petito saying he always enjoys watching our show. Thank you so much, Bobby. We enjoy having you commenting too. But now let's move on, and let's move on to Logan Paul, because Logan Paul, the United States champion, he returned to SmackDown last night, and he revealed that he has, had discussions with Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, and they have announced a United States Challenger tournament to find the next contender for Logan Paul's United States Championship, presumably at the Royal Rumble. There's a few interesting names, in this tournament. You've got Dragon Lee, which Logan Paul, Dragon Lee, I'd love to see. But the big name, which everybody's talking about, is Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens then came out, and him and Logan Paul had a bit of a promo battle. And, I mean, I am excited for the idea of that feud. Additionally, there's going to be an NXT surprise in this tournament, so that'll be interesting as well. Anthony, any early predictions here?
This is interesting because when we were speculating on who would be the next one for Logan Paul, none of us thought tournament.
Yeah.
But I think it works. They haven't done it in a while, and you could create storylines out of it from the tournament for people that don't win. Escobar's in there, so is Dragon Lee. They have history. Will they face each other, or will one cost the other a match in the tournament? Realistically, Logan Paul's a heel. You love to hate him. Being realistic, it's going to be a babyface that wins it. So it's Dragon Lee, Kevin Owens, and then the wild card is who the NXT person is. Is it Carmelo Hayes? Is it Braun Breaker? It's like who's the mystery person? We don't know. I think the wild card aspect to it makes it interesting, but realistically, it's going to be a face-to-face as him, and I do think it will be the Rumble, and I think it's a smart move to do a tournament because, as we've said multiple times, there's no December pay-per-view. They need the stretches to the Rumble. You got 2 months. You might be able to stretch it out with a tournament, and see where it goes, and they could stretch, other feuds out from it. It would be interesting if they wanted to. I don't think they would. But if it was like a double elimination, you had to lose 2 matches in the tournament. If they really wanted to stretch this thing out, carrying Cross in it. They've tried multiple times with him. I'm guessing this is a one last effort to try to see if this will work. If not, maybe he's future endeavored at some point. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Austin Theory's in it. He's another one that they've tried multiple times and not been able to do anything with. So it's going to be interesting. But Kevin Owens would seem to be the logical choice. Whether or not he's the choice to take the belt off of Logan, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's still going to be LA Knight at Mania, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to a Kevin Owens U.S. title reign again. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I absolutely agree. And yeah, I do agree with you as well on Kevin Owens probably being the one to win this tournament. I believe the NXT name won't be any major name. I think, to be honest, my prediction is Axiom. I think it's going to be somebody who's going to come in, put on a good performance, and then, not go that far in it. Maybe have 1, maybe 2 matches, and then exit it. But I do think it'll be, fun, and it will put them on, I guess, on a new level of fame or something, along those
Logan
lines.
Logan against Axiom at the Rumble would be a safe bet for Logan to pick up a win, and it would be an exciting match. And eliminating KO, maybe they have Waller cost them. Maybe that's what they do, because maybe they continue that and then they have that match at the Rumble or something. Maybe him in a handicap match against Theory and Waller. It seems that's the direction they're going to go. But Axiom would be a safe one for Logan to beat at the Rumble, and knowing their high flying style, it could put on an unbelievable showing.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, that would be a very fun match indeed. Kobe thinks it's either the NXT guy or Grayson Waller or Austin. No way are we getting Waller versus
They're not
Logan
doing
Paul or
heel versus
Theory.
heel. They're not doing that.
No,
That
you're
would be
not.
so
You're not
stupid.
understanding. You're not understanding. They're saying that whoever the NXT guy is will face Waller or Theory. That's what he's saying in the
Okay.
tournament. So it'll be a way to get
Never
the
mind.
NXT guy over.
Never mind.
That's what.
Apologies, Kobe.
That's
Apologies. But no, honestly, I do. Yeah, you are right there, David. Fair play.
My
But-
NXT prediction, if it's not going to be Axiom, might be Nathan Frazier.
Oh, okay.
Another
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid one.
another high flying babyface. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go straight in now. Talking about Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller faced Kevin Owens last night. It was a fun match, but Kevin Owens got, a quick victory in the end. Clearly, they wanted to protect Grayson Waller, with this loss as well, which is quite interesting. Logan Paul on commentary was just absolute gold, in my opinion. But David, what did you think about this match?
Very entertaining. I think Grayson is starting to find his way now as a in-ring performer on television. I think he's had moments. We had the stuff with Edge, but I think that he's mostly been a character more than he's been a terrific in-ring wrestler since he's come up. Which we know Waller's great. We've seen his work in NXT. He's a terrific talent. I don't like Waller on the main roster as much as I liked him in NXT. I was a huge Grayson Waller guy in NXT, and I was massive champion for him, and I thought he was the best thing in NXT. I think he's kind of blended on the main roster into just being another Miz, another Theory. Great, fine, does his job very well, but to me, he's just kind of become another cog in the machine, whereas I think he's probably better than what he's showing. With that said, I think that this was a really good showing for him as a wrestler. I think that Owens is always great. Logan on commentary was very good fun. He had some really great lines in there. Line about McDonald's was I think made Michael Cole crack, and me as well. But he was weird because it was because Michael Cole and all the other commentators on SmackDown are so kind of high energy, and then Logan kind of had a lower energy, but his lines were more cutting. So he spoke in a lower kind of register. So he sounded like a basketball commentator, that kind of that analyst that will come in every 2 minutes or so just to make a really scathing comment and then disappear.
About McDonald's.
But yeah, I think that it is going to be Kevin Owens is going to win the tournament. I think why have Kevin Owens be the guy to cut the promo if he's not going to win the tournament? And it feels like Kevin Owens and Logan Paul is an obvious bet, and I think it'll be a really fun match. I think Logan's great. I liked all the antics around the match. I think Theory's in a good position right now. You're kind of away from the spotlight for a bit, and in kind of I loved Kevin Owens. You know, Theory talking about him being, him punching people in the face, and just caught him would really made me chuckle. Yeah, nothing groundbreaking. I don't think anything on this show was especially like noteworthy or groundbreaking, but I enjoyed the match for what it was, and I think it was a good showing for both guys ahead of the tournament. You want to protect both. Want to protect both guys going into the tournament, and I think they did a good job of that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I do agree with you. They did undoubtedly protect both guys, but they gave Owens just a little bit of an edge. So I agree with you, David. I think Owens will be the one to face Logan Paul at the Royal Rumble. We got LW Plays in the comments. Hello, welcome to the chat. I hope all is well with you as well. But now, let's jump straight into something which was quite newsworthy on SmackDown, and that was Randy Orton, because Randy Orton, he of course got invited to SmackDown by Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis gave him the invitation. He said, hey, come to SmackDown. And then last night we found out that this invitation wasn't an invitation to Raw superstar Randy Orton. It was an invitation to free agent Randy Orton. Randy Orton is on neither brand. So Adam Pearce rocked up and he said, hey, Nick Aldis, I know what you're doing and I think it's ridiculous. And Nick Aldis is saying, hey, I'm doing what you should have done on Monday night and offering Randy Orton a contract. So Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis throughout the night were having their contracts drawn up. They both wanted them on their retrospective brands. Pearce wanted him on Raw. Nick Aldis wanted him on SmackDown. But in the end, Randy Orton came down to the ring, got presented with both contracts, and it was time to make his decision. And Paul Heyman came out and said, hey, Randy, you got to be careful which decision you're going to make. You got to think this one through, because the Bloodline are going to make sure you don't come to SmackDown. They're going to make sure that you stay on Raw. Randy Orton on Raw this week called out the Bloodline. He made his intentions perfectly clear. And it was at this point, where Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso came out. And they tried to take out Randy Orton. And for a second, they succeeded before LA Knight, came in. And he, settled the score. He evened the odds. And Randy Orton hit an RKO out of nowhere on Jimmy Uso before grabbing the mic and announcing that he is SmackDown's latest signing. Nick Aldis then celebrated with Orton, and then Orton hit an RKO out of nowhere on the general manager, his new boss. That might be the quickest ever. And, somebody, I guess annoys their boss, infuriates their boss. It took him like 30 seconds after signing. But anyway, that happened, and my prediction is now Orton versus Reigns at the Rumble, and Orton versus Aldis at WrestleMania. But David, what did you think about all of this?
I agree with you on the first half. I do think it's going to be Roman and Orton at the Rumble. I don't see the Orton and Aldis match. I don't necessarily. I don't actually think this is going to build to a great deal. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to. What I mean is, I don't think it's going to lead to an Orton and Aldis feud. I think this is just what Randy Orton does. He just RKO's people. And like Aldis went to Twitter to kind of take it with good grace and kind of went, well, it really is out of nowhere, which was quite funny. I'm so happy Orton's back. Like in the chaos of the Punk return, I think people Orton went a bit under the radar compared to Punk, but I was genuinely more excited to have Orton back than I was to have Punk back for the reasons I've outlined many times before. I love Orton. I mean, Orton's never always been my favorite wrestler in the ring, but I just love his presence. He's one of those guys I just enjoy watching on TV. I enjoy watching him scoop slam people. I enjoy watching him DDT people and RKO people and just not care. And that, especially now, the last few years, I've really grown to love Randy. And I'm excited to have him on SmackDown. I think it was a good segment. does make the Raw World Heavyweight Championship look a little naff. When when on one side you get given a world title match, and on the other side you get given the people who injured you, and they just went, sorry, yeah, I don't want the world title anyway. Although I think it is building to Roman, so whatever, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the segment. Exactly. I assumed it was. I assumed he was going to SmackDown, which is why they would be doing the segment on SmackDown once it started. But there's a little bit of intrigue in there, and it was a nice little option either way. And I thought it was really, really fun. And yeah, Orton's always great. And yeah, Orton versus Reigns sounds like fun to me. Be a fun little feud. Fun little defense for Roman if that's what they want to do. Because Orton's not winning it. Of course he's not. But that'll be another problem kind of going into the Rumble is like a lot of matches with Roman, nobody buys Randy's going to take the title off Roman Reigns. They're not that stupid.
I think I disagree on that one, to be honest with you, because I've seen a lot of people on social media suggesting the possibility that The Rock comes and evens the odds and Orton wins, leading to Orton Cody for that belt at Mania. And then doing Reigns Rock.
Yeah, there's no way that Randy would agree. Randy's a wrestling
I
mind.
agree with you.
There's no way, it's like people who wanted to break the Undertaker's streak. It's like who Undertaker wanted to break the streak and they said no out of respect for Taker. I think even like Orton would just go, no, why me? Why do I need it? I'm in my fault. Give it to somebody else. Give it to someone who really could use that rep. There's no way Orton's winning. No way.
He was out for so long and he badly wants to equal that reign.
He can equal the reign, but don't do it with Roman.
I agree with you, but I don't think it's out of the question. I think this is a lot more possible.
I do think it's out of the question. But the thing is, they've got 2 months to sell me. They got 2 months to sell me on it if they want to do it at the Rumble. So I hold my hands up and wait. But either way, really happy with Orton being back on TV, and I thought it was a fun segment.
Yeah, and I mean we got a comment here from Anthony Manzano saying that Randy has been both a babyface and heel throughout his career, but why haven't we seen him be a tweener? I mean, we kind of have seen him be a tweener at times,
numerous times.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest there. Yeah. But let's now move on, We've got another comment here. Anthony, of course, you're one of the hosts of Sold Separately, the merchandise show, and Kobe thinks there's an issue with Randy Orton's merchandise because he's saying who would buy a t-shirt saying Daddy's back simply because Randy Orton said the phrase. I think you'd be surprised, Kobe. I really do.
There's been a lot of strange t-shirts in wrestling over the years that people have bought.
The Rhea Ripley one as well.
Yeah. Probably the same person that bought the Rhea Ripley. It's probably a couple's one. And that's probably where it's going. It's a stocking stuffer. But Randy coming back with this, it did make sense him choosing SmackDown because Roman, and it's smart to have Roman feud with him. I do agree with David. No disrespect to the Rumble, it's one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. He's not ending a 3-year reign if it's not WrestleMania, unless Roman's injured and he can only get through one more match. He's not losing it to Randy. Randy's I believe 14-time world champion. He doesn't need the rub for this. Cody's the one that would need the rub for this. Realistically, he's never held the WWE Championship. I don't think Randy would do that. I don't think you end a 3-year reign with Orton. Realistically, I just don't see that. They did announce last night, I believe Punk is on next week's SmackDown. Yep. Presumably same status as Orton, as a free agent, I would assume, because obviously he wasn't there to be drafted. So I do think ultimately he's probably going to end up on Raw because I think they are going the Seth route. But I think what they could do with that, it would be too much of a repeat if SmackDown ends next week with him signing with Raw. I'd almost let him linger it, going, nah, I'm not ready yet. Like I'd almost drag it out because you could have those interactions with him both on Raw and SmackDown where they're teasing stuff, him interaction with him and Paul, him and Roman. You could tease those little things but ultimately he's going to end up on Raw anyway. I presumably, especially with Randy signing with SmackDown, I can't imagine they both be signing to SmackDown, but I could see them doing it to correspond with whoever Raw's TV contract, like the build up for that. Maybe they make the announcement that week. Raw's now on whether it's USA, FX, Amazon, wherever it's going to go. I could see them doing it corresponding with that. That's when he makes his decision. Just to play that up. But Randy against the Bloodline is a smart move. Like I said yesterday, I'd have him take out members of the Bloodline. I think that's a smart play. Do the Austin thing where he's taken out Jimmy, he's taken out Solo, maybe Paul gets taken out in the back. I think you do little things like that, and you can kind of make this work.
Well, we know who is a big fan of CM Punk, and that, of course, is the head of TNT and TBS. I mean, that would be absolutely hilarious if they go from announcing him in the face of Collision and being the one true article in professional wrestling to then announcing him as the face of Raw, heading into a Shock TV deal there or something. That would be absolute comedy.
Wasn't the line Big Buck Phil? Or $1 Billion Phil, or something to that effect?
It was something like that, yeah. He called it
$1 Bill Phil. That was it.
The one true article in professional wrestling.
Well, speaking of mega fans of CM Punk,
hey, I just wrote about him yesterday.
I can't point both ways.
Everybody's a fan apart from you.
You
David.
can. It's just difficult.
No.
You hater. Only joking, David. But Clark, what did you think about Randy Orton choosing the blue brand?
Okay, first and foremost, I'm just stoked. After a double fusion, I was worried about the RKO. He's got to land on his spine every time he delivers it. And guess what? Every single one has looked absolutely gorgeous since he's returned.
Absolutely.
So I'm stoked about that for Randy Orton himself, because I'm a huge fan of Randy Orton. And that is not an easy injury to come back from. Single fusion is tough. Double fusion is twice as tough. Everyone knows that one. That's just math. Orton himself looked outstanding in the ring at War Games. He looked outstanding in the ring once again last night. I loved the RKO on Nick Aldis. I'm as interested in that as I am the rivalry with the Bloodline. As far as the Punk appearing on SmackDown thing, Paul Heyman's the key cog in that one. And I think there is a story to be told on the back of that alone, because guess who Roman Reigns also doesn't like? And this is where you can all of a sudden do this thing that I've always liked, which is a number of challengers at the title. We haven't had a time where it's felt like in a long time, a lot of people are gunning for Roman Reigns. And is there a better time than December leading into the Royal Rumble than to crank up the heat on the number of potential challengers for Roman, even if you don't pay them all off? And I think now is the time to do that. And one little one that you can hint at, and I don't think it'll ever happen, is you have Paul Heyman be the one that convinces Punk to sign with Raw. That's how we solve a problem that was presented earlier. Paul Heyman goes, "Hey, good to see ya." Roman's a little concerned about their friendship, but he does I think it makes more sense for you to be on Raw. And maybe go after Seth Rollins, and then the way that Paul convinces Roman that it's the right move is, well, I can trust Punk. He doesn't have to trust us, but he'll go take out Seth Rollins. And that's how we get the ball rolling on that storyline too on Raw. And Paul Heyman can be the key cog in that entire operation. And I'll dig that. As far as David made a great point about the little bit telegraphed potential Rumble matchup between Roman Reigns and Orton. The only thing that I think you can do to sort of skirt that and at least make us feel like it's close, I talked about the RKO earlier. If he catches a spear in a big moment, catches a spear into an RKO and stands over him and stands tall with the belt sitting in the ring, I'll be ready to potentially see it happen. I still believe Roman goes over in that match, to David's earlier point. But a caught spear into an RKO is one thing we haven't seen. We've seen off the top rope.
Sick.
We've seen a moonsault. We've seen the stomp. A caught spear directly into an RKO in a big moment right leading into the pay-per-view, sell me on that. I still do agree in a sense that at the end of the day, Roman will go over in that scenario, but that is how I would book that one myself.
No, absolutely. But that does bring us to the end of the show, guys. If you're on Spotify, please give us a cheeky 5 stars and a follow. On Twitch, the same there, and on YouTube, a thumbs up, a subscribe, and if you dare hit that notification bell, well, that would be lovely. But thank you guys so much for watching the show. Thank you to Clark, thank you to David, and thank you to Anthony for joining me on this fine Saturday. We will be back the same time tomorrow to give you our thoughts on Collision. Thank you guys, and we hope you have a great Saturday night.